What's up, everybody? Today we're doing something a little different. A few people have asked me to do a guide on this new Ultron mode, but while I'm not a professional when it comes to these game modes, I do have a pretty solid understanding of how they work, especially this one specifically. So I figured I'd throw together a beginner guide to help you learn the mode a bit quicker. So if you're unfamiliar with the auto chess genre of games, these modes were made popular through games like Teamfight Tactics, which is the League of Legends auto chess game from Riot Games, and Blizzard's Hearthstone Battlegrounds. But if you've played those two games, then even they feel like completely different styles, even if they fall under the auto chess genre umbrella. I'm going to take you through a standard game of Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol using references from a game I played on stream the other night, and then give hints and tips that will help you make your comps and give you an edge against the competition. I'm going to try to streamline this guide as much as I can to hopefully make it short, sweet, and concise, so let's get into it. The first thing the game is going to do is give you the character selection wheel that you would see in comp or quick match, but the characters available to you are going to be random. The game is going to ask you to make a team of 6 with said characters. If you really wanted to build a team around certain characters and that character is MIA from this random group, don't worry. You will be able to swap characters out during the game for cost. More on that later. The other thing to note is that the team-ups we know from Quick Match and Comp are also available here if you lock in those characters. So if you lock in Mantis, Starlight, and Adam Warlock, they will self-revive. If you lock in Doctor Strange and Wanda, Wanda will use the team-up. Your skins will also show in this mode. It's hard for me to show here because I ironically don't have any other ones than the new Jeff and Wolverine on the early access account, but those two skins do show up when I use them, as well as their unique emotes. Now at this moment, you're going to want to start to think about the identity of your team. What that means is, do you want to focus more on Vanguard, Duelist, Strategist, or Unique Role? This will be important later and adjustable on the fly, but it's a good idea to go in with a plan. The safest routes I've seen is starting with a typical 2-2-2 squad, or a 3 Vanguard, 1 Duelist, 2 Strategist team. From there, you could go on to modify the identity of your team if you want to, but it's a solid base to get you started. So let's talk about those identities. Vanguard, Duelist, and Strategist are pretty straightforward, but Unique Role will give you bonuses based on having one of each unique role on your team. So if you're planning to go 6 Duelists or 6 Vanguards, for example, Unique Role might not be the best option for you because you only have one of the roles instead of 3. You can also opt to go for 2 of these categories, but you may want to focus on the roles you have the most of and do something like a Vanguard or Strategist focus, even if you're running 1 Duelist. In the example here, I went in committed to a 6 Duelist comp. However, I wanted at least 1 healer in my opener, and Mantis made the most sense to me since she can also buff the Duelist's attack. I figured if things went smoothly, I could opt to keep Mantis or swap her out later if I felt like my team needed more firepower. Either way, I was committed to Duelist, and this is important because the next thing you're going to focus on is the method for building your team, which in this mode is called modules. At the start of the game, this screen will pop up and there is a lot to digest here. But once we get through this screen, you'll have just about all the information you need to succeed in this game mode. Let's go left to right to make it easier. On the left side of the screen, you have the amount of EXP per modules you have gained for each role. You can see that they all say 0 out of 10 because I haven't purchased any yet. You will get bonuses for accumulating EXP for these modules at certain milestones. The first one is 10, that's why they all say 0 out of 10. The second one is 20, and the third one is at 40 EXP. Now, it's very important to understand that this is not the number of modules you have, it is the amount of EXP you have gotten per module type. I know that sounds confusing, but each module has a rarity, and depending on the rarity you buy, you get EXP that makes this number go up. A common module gives 1 EXP, a rare module gives 2, and a legendary module gives 4 EXP. So based on that information, if we wanted to get Vanguard to 10 for the bonus, we would need to buy 10 common Vanguard modules, or 5 rare modules, or 3 legendary modules, which would technically take us to 12 EXP, but you get the idea. Having 10 EXP in Vanguard will net you an increase to your ally hero's health that makes it go up by 120 health. At 20 EXP, you will get an additional 120, and at 40 EXP, you will get an additional 240 health. The Duelist one boosts attack damage, the Strategist one boosts healing amount, and the Unique Roll will give you an increase of all three, but at smaller amounts. So with Unique Roll, you will get a small boost to health, a small boost to attack, and a small boost to healing amount. The module on the bottom with the lightning bolt is unique. It is called a Strengthen module and is only received when you defeat a Galacta bot round. These modules are character specific and will increase the abilities of specific characters. Some of them are really broken. Jeff, for example, can get one that makes him generate free modules for you when he eats 3 enemies with his ultimate. Black Panther can get one that makes his ult fire 3 times, shooting out in 3 different directions. Rocket can get one that gives him more revive beacons and makes it so the revive beacons can revive themselves. There's a whole slew of broken things these special modules can do, and you can earn a whole bunch as you go through the rounds. Early on, each Galacta bot round gives one of these modules, but later, around round 11 and beyond, you will be able to select 2. You always get a free refresh when selecting them, so feel free to abuse that if you're looking for bonuses for specific characters. Now let's talk about the exclamation mark and the little book or pages. I think it's a book. I don't know. The exclamation mark gives you a huge wall of text with all of the rules of the game mode if you need something to reference, but it's not easy to fish out the information you need in a pinch, so hopefully this guide helps you more than that does. The book pages thing is way more important here. This book will show you what every module in the game does and list them to help you keep track of things. On top of that, it shows you all of the strengthen modules for each character. This is a really good thing to reference, especially early on when you're just starting out, to help you plan ahead or see what important modules you're missing to really make your team work. The top part of the screen where it says 1-1 is the current round. To the right of that are symbols telling you what is about to happen. The book-looking thing means it's time to purchase modules and make changes to your team, so you'll do your purchasing of modules and prep work here for the battle rounds. The one with the people is the position phase. You will take this time to position your characters where you want them, but you can also just use this as extended time to make purchases. The one that looks like a little robot head or Herbie's head is those Galacta bot rounds I was talking about. You kick off every game with one of those. The lightning bolt symbol just means you're going to get to choose a strengthen module. I'll add in a picture of it, but there's also a symbol with 2 swords crossing, which indicates a round where you play against another player. Select is where you go to buy your modules. Activated gives you a list of all your modules you've already purchased, but also lets you sell your modules as well. Let's say you buy one by accident. You could sell it back, but just keep in mind it will sell back for less than what you bought it for. Last on this row is Change Hero, which is where swapping out characters you're looking for comes into play. For 5 currency, you can attempt to find who you're looking for from a random pool of characters. Vanguard and Strategist gives you 3 random choices, while Duelist gives you 6 since there are way more options. To the right of that is your current currency. If you hover over the exclamation mark, it'll break down how your income is looking. By default, your passive income is 15 per round, but as you can see, this can be manipulated in many ways. First off, you can get a max of 5 interest, which means every 10 in your bank generates 1 interest. So to get to the maximum of 5 interest, you need 50 in your bank. If you're playing the long game and trying to build a good foundation for later, you could save up, and as you go along, you will get more than that base passive income, giving you an advantage when it comes to getting modules. Win-loss streak is pretty straightforward, but if you go on a winning streak, you will gain more per round, but you will also gain more per round if you go on a losing streak. So there are some mechanics to keep you hot, and some to get you back in the game if things aren't going well. The last one is selling income. This is just a way to tell you what you're going to get back next round if you sold any modules in the activated screen we talked about earlier. The percentages you see under this row indicate your likelihood of finding the rarities of the modules. As you can see, you start off with 100% chance to find commons and a 0% chance to find rares and legendaries. So how do we get these numbers to go up? Well, each milestone you reach with EXP on the modules will modify this in some way. Getting to 10 will lower the percentage on commons and increase your chance to get rares. And then getting to 20 will change it again, but also give you a 1.5% chance to find a legendary. If you only focus one like I did in this game, the maximum you could get is a 2.0% chance of getting legendaries. But if you start to splash in multiple, the values go up. For every 20 EXP in a category, you get 1.5% towards getting legendaries. So if you had Vanguard and Duelist at 20 EXP each, you would have a 3.0% chance to get legendary modules. Now in this part of the screen are the modules. I'm not going to go into detail of every single one, but you can see some of the benefits for stacking them here. They range from increased damage, health, and healing for some of the commons, to stuff like lifesteal for your duelists in the rares, and some really over-the-top bonuses once you start finding legendaries. The value of each module is in the bottom right. Commons cost 5, rares cost 10, and legendaries cost 15. In this example, I'm going for a full duelist build, so this is a really bad start for me. Luckily, there's this little refresh button down here that costs 1 of the currency and lets you refresh the board. Doing this is how you're going to find what you need. This is why managing your income is going to be pivotal to finding success in this type of mode. The more you manage your income, interest, and hopefully your streaks, the more wiggle room you have for refreshing and looking for what you need to make your build click. Now let's say you're trying to stay over 50 currency to keep your interest at the maximum of 5. Your currency is currently at 53, but even a common costs 5, which will take you under the 50 for your max interest. You see a juicy Vanguard module that you want, but you can't buy it, and you obviously don't want to lose it. That's where the lock button will come into play. Unfortunately, you can't lock one singular module, so you need to lock the whole row, but it's worth it if you find yourself in a position where you refresh into a legendary that costs 15, but you only have 13 currency. You can lock it up and get it next round. The right side of the screen has 2 options. The first one shows you all of the players in the game. The 50s under each nameplate shows the amount of health each player has. As you lose rounds, your health will go down, and the amount of damage you take for a loss will go up as the rounds drag on. Obviously, once everyone in the game except one person reaches 0, the game will end. It's also important to note that it seems like a win is considered top 3, and a loss is considered the bottom 3. So if you finish 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, it should count as a victory. If you finish 4th, 5th, or 6th, it will count as a defeat. The symbol underneath the name shows the amount of currency each player has. There are other symbols that can pop up here that indicate a winning streak or losing streak, and I will add a picture here indicating those for you, so you can see what they look like. And this little Galacta head, which totally looks like a little guy flexing to me, indicates who is currently in 1st place, though the person with the most health will always be at the top of this list. The second option here shows you a full breakdown of your team and their stats. This is important for you to see what characters are doing well for you, and who you might want to swap out because they're not pulling their weight. It could also help you figure out if you need to toy with your positioning to protect certain characters better to try to get more value out of them. Okay then, that screen could have been a video all on its own, but let's move on. Let's talk about the little Ultron drone you control in this mode. When you pull up the screen like you would to check your character's abilities in a normal game mode, you notice 3 things here. The left click it shows actually doesn't do anything at all. You could shoot enemies and it'll make noise, but it actually does 0 damage. One-time damage, which is shift, not sure what it'll be on controller, I'm sorry about that, does just that. A little bit of damage to the enemy team, and I mean a little. It's so minuscule that it might feel like it does something early on, but later on, it won't even be noticeable enough to use. The same can be said for one-time healing, which is your other ability. In the first couple of rounds, it may save your strategist or an out-of-position duelist, but later on you won't even use it. The healing is practically non-existent by then. If I can just go back to position for a moment, I just want to mention that positioning goes about how you would think it would go, with wanting your vanguards up front and your strategists in the back rows. Your duelists are a bit more flexible. For example, somebody like Mr. Fantastic can kind of play up front because he's a little more tanky than, say, Scarlet Witch. There are going to be a lot of different positioning plays down the line as more people get experienced with this mode, but using your judgment on who needs to be in the back and who should be up front, and going with the obvious will be a solid way to start until you learn each character's little intricacies as you go. For example, I noticed the Loki in this mode will only summon his clones next to himself, so when his lanterns go off, it's only by him, which is really useless to the rest of the team. But if you put them just behind your vanguards or in the middle of your other strategists who you know are going to hang back, suddenly you have some solid invincibility to start the round on your squishiest targets. And that is pretty much all of the info you need to get started in this mode. If you found this video helpful and you want me to make a video on the characters I think are the strongest and weakest for this mode, let me know down in the comments. Good luck in the new mode, and make sure you tell everyone who will listen how much you enjoy it so they decide to keep it around. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for the support, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace!